Hannah Mail, ancient Egypt enthusiast and future curator of Egyptian antiquities here, currently enrolled in IU's Masters in Egyptology program, and a big believer in the power of social media to spread accurate knowledge about the history of ancient Egypt and the larger discipline of Egyptology, thereby making the world a little bit more understanding and hopefully better in the process. Right now, I am engaged in formal coursework on the history and language of ancient Egypt. So the pre-dynastic through the late New Kingdom and the different phases of the Egyptian languages, including Middle Egyptian. Looking ahead to the 10-year plan, I hope to find myself at a university art museum rather than a museum like the Metropolitan. This will, fingers crossed, allow me to work with objects, but also work with and network with the undergraduate and graduate student population as well as the surrounding population about the history and culture of ancient Egypt and the larger discipline of Egyptology, thereby hopefully making the world a more understanding and better place by spreading more accurate knowledge. You can see examples of me already doing this through my different social media channels. So my Facebook page, Hannah's History Tutoring, my YouTube channel, Wandering in Antiquities, and then my LinkedIn profile, where I've posted a fair amount about these topics. I also believe that a greater understanding by the general public of ancient Egypt can be gained if museums incorporate more digital technology and models, either in the 2D or 3D form, into their art exhibits on ancient Egypt, and a greater integration of images that speak to and explain the context of where a lot of these objects were found as well. I am doing my best throughout my academic career to do this work in museums and spread my love of history. I have been, I would say, moderately successful in getting different museum part-time jobs where I've been able to do this, including 2 curatorial internships in the summers of 2018 and 2019, jobs in the visitor services department. I've also been a museum assistant. I've been a docent as well. One of the things that museums have done in the past decade or so, and many of them are still trying to do this, is digitize their collections as much as possible. So now for many museums, including the Metropolitan, if you do an online collection search, you can access and look at through your screen a lot of the objects that they have in their collection. So doing this, I found 4 stelae in the Metropolitan's art collection that come from either the 3rd intermediate or late period. They were found in a tomb court in in a tomb courtyard, and there was actually an earlier Middle Kingdom tomb under that courtyard. Right now, I think one or two of those stelae are displayed, but they're displayed as separate pieces. I believe that a 2 or 3D model should be made of all 4 stelae, or should be made of the courtyard spot where they were found, and all 4 stelae in their find spots, and that could be set up next to whichever of the stelae are currently on display. Ideally, with information about the earlier Middle Kingdom tomb worked in as well. I believe that this would give viewers a greater appreciation of the context of these objects, and hopefully make the world a little bit more of an understanding place. These session numbers are 22.3.34, 22.3.32, 22.3.31, 22.3.33. Also, I take this approach when I'm teaching. I have had the pleasure of teaching of designing and teaching multiple classes now on ancient Egypt. So for instance, when I talk about the Rosetta Stone, I don't just give the dry facts of it is an object that had the same inscription in 4 different languages, including hieroglyphic, thereby providing a key for hieroglyphic translation in the West, but it was found in Napoleon's, but I also go into that it was found in Napoleon's military expedition, so that greater imperialist context. I also talk about how it ultimately ended up in the British Museum. It didn't just fly there, but it was part of the greater fight for empire and imperialistic tangles between Britain and France. And so I believe that that kind of approach is best when you're teaching about Egyptology, to reckon with and acknowledge that many of these early Egyptologists were people of their day. So they were what we would call racist, Eurocentric, so on and so on. That doesn't mean that they didn't do great things or make advancements in the field, but to divorce those larger social currents from the from the overall history of Egyptology, I don't think is the right approach. I think that both those things need to be looked at together. Hopefully this video has given you a better idea of my goals and how I want to use them to make the world a better